flag on Substack. It says starting. Are we live? We are actually live now. Oh, and it says there's one person here. Who is it? Who could it be? Maybe it's you and me. Um, Marcia, congratulations on hitting your second $1,000 milestone in your crowdfunder for Flecks of Gold.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm. It's very exciting. So we're just going to chat a little bit and give people a chance to find us because we just announced this. And oh, hello, Linda. Nice to see you. Like good quick starts. We said, let's do it ASAP. And well, not just good quick starts. My day is so full. I'm like, where can I put it? It's nap time for my grandson. So, okay, Marcia, you have been busy telling stories about the Yukon. We are publishing a book, Flecks of Gold, with you, and it's a collection of stories and poems and whatever, a collection of writings that you have some previously published, some new. And though you told a story on your own Substack channel about floating down the river, the Yukon River, on a raft. And you did it in 2 installments, so you gave us a nice cliffhanger. And everybody was like, what's next? So once we're done, we'll put those links in the comments. If we forget or if we don't get to it as soon as you want to see those links, then you can either click on Marcia's name and go figure out where they are, or comment that you really want to read those stories or hear those stories. I guess you haven't typed them out, have you? You spoke them.
Yes, they were spoken. Yes.
Okay. Now, why did you do that? What possessed you to just launch out with one oar, not 2, but 1? So you couldn't steer very well. Why would you do that?
Well, there was a bit of a gathering going on downriver, actually upriver. I always get that confused. My husband always has to correct me because the Yukon flows north. So that's downriver. Even though it's going north, it's downriver because the river is flowing that way. Upriver is south. And that never makes sense to me.
Okay. So before you go too much further, there's a gathering. Can you show us what we're giving away today?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So I have 2 feltings of the Yukon River. This one is a felting of the landscape from above Dawson City on what they call the Dome, which is a very large hill up behind Dawson. And then this one is as though you were standing beside the river, and it's kind of a section of the river where the Klondike comes in. The Klondike River comes in and meets the Yukon. So that's kind of what that one is. I've been really enjoying doing these feltings, landscape feltings, and especially I've got so many pictures of the Yukon that it's fun to go through them and see if I can make a felting of them.
Nice. So, okay, there was a gathering. That with the picture of the river, which direction is up and down in that picture?
In this picture, okay, well, in this one, you actually can see it even better in this one. This is looking from above Dawson again, and it's looking downriver.
Oh, okay. So that's good. So north is kind of east on the picture.
Yes.
Okay. So the right-hand side is we're going north, we're going downriver, and you, as a young thing, you set off downriver.
Yes, a very young, foolish thing. As I said, there was a bit of a gathering going on downriver, and I knew quite a few of the people who were going to be there. Some were river people. A couple were people that were working over at Clinton Creek, which wasn't too far from where my friends lived. And they were all planning to get together on this particular weekend. And so one of the groups, there were about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 people had come into town just before then. And they were saying, why don't you come down? You know, we're going to have a good time down in the river. And I said, well, I don't have any way to get there. Didn't have a canoe or anything, any kind of boat at that time. And they said, oh, well, we've got this rubber raft. We'll leave the rubber raft for you, hidden down by the river. So they did that, and I did find it. They had hidden it in some bushes there by the side of the river. And it was already blown up and everything. So I figured, okay, there's nothing I need to do. I can just jump into this and go. And when I pulled it into the water, I realized there was only one paddle, which I thought, well, that's okay. I can handle it with one paddle. And I got into the rubber raft, and it definitely was a one-man rubber raft. It was only as, like, I'm a very short person. My legs are very short, and when I was sitting in the raft, my feet were touching the other end. So this was quite a small little craft. But I pushed off from the side of the river and ended up in the middle of the Yukon, drifting down and going in circles because I only had one paddle. So I was going in circles all the way down the river. And I could only get part way the first day. So I ended up staying in an old cabin that was mostly fallen down, and then got up the next day and had to quite quickly make my way to the other side of the river. And the Yukon River is, I think, the second largest river in Canada. So it's a big river, and the current is quite strong. So I had to paddle really hard with my one little paddle to get to the other side of the river. And then floated down, and I was watching for the place where they had said I could find a path up to their cabin, and it was on a small creek that was flowing into the Yukon. So I was watching, but there's a number of small creeks that flow into the Yukon, which they didn't bother to tell me. So I ended up stopping a couple of times to try and find this path and couldn't find it. And I was getting a little concerned because there was nothing from that point until you got to Alaska. And you know, you can't go backwards on the Yukon River when you don't have a motor. So if I missed the place where their cabin was, I would end up in Eagle, Alaska, which was a long way from where I wanted to be.
And no passport.
And no passport. That probably wouldn't have mattered, though. The boundary between Alaska and the Yukon at that point was really not a concern. But anyway, it was a very foolish, silly thing to do because the Yukon is not only big and wide and fast, it's extremely cold. And I'd been told if you fall in, it's about 2 minutes before the river will take your life. So it was a very foolish thing to do. So that's the story that I tell in the part one. And one of the things I don't think I mentioned when I was telling the story was that when I finally did get back, my friends were very worried about me. They knew I'd gone downriver. They knew that I was in this tiny little rubber raft. And when I didn't show up when I was supposed to, because it was a long weekend, my friends convinced me that the place where I worked, the Dawson City Museum, wouldn't be open on a holiday. So they said, you know, you don't need to go back yet. You can stay another day. So I did. But my friends were expecting me to come back on the Sunday. And when I didn't show up, they got very concerned. And my friend Pauline finally convinced her husband, Bob, to phone the RCMP. So he did. He called them and told them what I had done. They were horrified, and they said, we will get the helicopter out. So when I walked in the door at Bob and Pauline's house, the RCMP were warming up the helicopter to go looking for me. And Bob was on the phone with them at the time when I walked in the door, and he looked at me, scowled at me. He was quite angry with me. And he just said to the constable, he said, it's okay, she's here. And he hung up the phone. So fortunately, they didn't charge me because they hadn't taken off in the helicopter yet. That would have been a very, very big bill if they had taken off for no reason. So yes, it was a foolish thing to do.
But it's a good story now.
Yes, it is a good story now. And
You know,
it was a trip that I will never forget because I was all alone. I had an incredible sense of the wilderness, the vastness of that wilderness. And though I wasn't a believer at the time, I sensed something beyond me that was bigger.
mhm.
And it was one of those moments that, really stirred my soul in a lot of ways.
Mm, that's good. You know, when we work with a lot of authors in Serotonin, and one of the things we like to do with them is a couple of assessments, and one is called the Colby, and it tells you your intensity on a number of 4 different categories. One of the categories is quick start, and Marcia got a pretty long score on quick start. My score is even longer than yours, but she also has a pretty long score on implementing, which is her relationship to tangible things. So it makes sense to me that, hence the felted landscapes. How many different, we talked about this a little bit last time. How many different hobbies do you have?
Oh my goodness. I've had many, many hobbies over the years. I'm always fascinated by crafts and things,
Yeah.
the things people make.
Mhm.
Um, when we moved from the Yukon, we had an enormous garage sale because there was no way to hire a moving company to move out of there. And even if we could have, it would have been outrageously expensive. So we sold everything. And so we had this massive garage sale. And a woman came up to me at one point and she said, "Is there anything you haven't done?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I had been a potter for a time, I'd been a weaver, I'd done stained glass, I'd done some ironwork, welding, that kind of stuff, a little bit, not a lot, but kind of tried my hand at that. All kinds of different things. And I had all of these supplies from all of these different um, handicrafts. And so she wondered if there was anything that I hadn't done. And when she
Yeah.
said that, I sort of thought, no, I don't think so.
That's great.
I have done a lot.
Except felting is new and books
Felting
are
is brand
new.
new.
You didn't
Yes.
know what you didn't know at that point.
Sorry?
You didn't know what you didn't know at that point.
That's right. Yeah, I came across the lady who teaches hand stitching books, making hand stitched journals and things. And I was really fascinated by what she was doing. And so I joined her club for a while. My daughter actually bought me a subscription to her club for a time. So I got to go in and watch all her videos and learn all these different types of hand stitching for books, and had a lot of fun doing that. And I still do that. In fact, I'm in the process of hopefully doing 1 or 2 that I would like to take with me this weekend. I'm going to a speaking engagement, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get these finished because I'm behind in everything for this this event. So,
A
so I'm
speaking
kind of,
at a wilderness camp.
yes, it's called Blue Brana, and
Mhm.
it's a wilderness camp west of town here. So it's right out into the mountains. And I'm really looking forward to it. Apparently, the weather's not going to be good. It's supposed to rain all weekend, but
I've been at
that's
Blue
okay.
Brown a couple times when the weather was inclement, and it's fine. You just go with it. That's the point of Blue Brona.
That's right. Yeah.
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 It makes sense to me that with Marcia's long implementer score and her somewhat long, sorry, her long quick start and her long implementer, that it makes sense to me that you jump quickly into ideas because as a writer, but you also jump quickly into tangible things and physical things. So the fact that you just threw the raft into the river and got in it and away you went, like that's just, it's quick and it's tangible. and you're ready for it. You're ready for that kind of adventure. And when we had your birthday party launch to this campaign, one of your daughters wrote a poem afterwards where she reflected on how the way she sees you is, it shifted, I think, on your 75th birthday, and it was a beautiful reflection. So and then you do all these hobbies. And is there anything you haven't done? Maybe the answer now is probably. Is there anything you won't try?
Well, probably not. I was watching a pottery program last night on TV. Was the pottery throwdown, I think it's called, and it's all these potters who are competing against one another, and it's at the end of the series. So they had to make a water fountain from pottery, and so they were throwing pieces and molding pieces, and it was really fascinating to watch the kinds of things they were doing. And one of the fellows, well, two of the guys were very much sculptors. And so they made these incredible sculpted pieces that they made, that one of them made into a fountain. The other fellow, unfortunately, his blew up in the kiln.
Oh.
So yeah, that was very sad because it would have been amazing.
Oh.
But as I was watching them, I was thinking, oh, I'd really like to do that. I would like to do some sculpting with clay. I think that would be really
yes.
a really cool thing to do.
My brother is a professional potter, and his wife does a lot of hand building. He does more throwing, but between the two of them, they put out a lot of wonderful stuff. And he has a miniature kiln. I don't know, miniature, a small kiln that belonged to our great-great-grandmother.
Oh, wow.
They lived in a log cabin in the wilderness near Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan, and she would throw her pottery and dry it, and then when it was time to fire it, they would go into town and rent a hotel room and plug in the kiln for the weekend. Fire pottery at the hotel.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So my brother has it. Hello, Brenda. Welcome. Brenda Burston's here.
Hi, Brenda. Yes, I tried to do pottery in the Yukon for a while. When my husband and I went down to Ontario for a bit of a time, and then when we came back, I purchased all kinds of tools and clay and all kinds of things to do pottery. And when we got there, we ended up in quite a nice cabin that had an old shack in behind it. So I put the pottery studio in this old shack. And it did have a bit of a heater in it, but that was a very, very cold winter. It dropped down to 65 below over and over again. And so I would, on the nicer days, I would go up and get get it all heated up and do some pottery, throw some pots and put them, on a rack to dry. But then the heater would go out in the middle of the night, and I would go back the next day, and most of them were all cracked and good for nothing. So I kind of gave up on trying to do pottery in the Yukon.
You can try again. It's not too late. You said many nights the temperature dropped below -65. Is that what you said?
Yes. And someone sent me a list of things about the Yukon the other day, and it said that the coldest temperature was -62 ever recorded in the Yukon. That's not true.
That's not true.
No.
The coldest official temperature.
Yeah, well, there's a place called Snag, wonderful name for a town, but which is no longer existing. There's nothing there anymore. But, and I can't remember what year it was, quite a long time ago, they recorded a temperature of 70 below at Snag.
Oh my goodness.
So that's, that's known to be a record in the Yukon. So I don't know where they got the idea of 62 below, because our thermometer on our house went to 65 below, and there were many times when we couldn't see the mercury.
Wow.
So it had dropped even a little bit lower than 65 below.
So speaking of -60 whatever, -60 is plenty. It's almost the coldest. It's not as cold as some places in Russia, but that's okay. Cold is cold. One of your reward levels includes, well, a couple of them, more than one, includes a poster called -60 Dawson. -60 Dawson. Is that what it's called?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen and show people what the rewards are. So if you haven't visited Marcia's campaign yet, these are the rewards that we've prepared. So the first level is an ebook. And so for $10 or more, you'll get an ebook as soon as it's ready. And then it goes up from there, first edition plus the ebook. Every level builds on the level before. So first edition of print book signed plus the ebook, 2 copies signed plus the ebook, 3 copies signed plus the ebook, and here's the poster, minus 60 Dawson. And you can't read the poem from this picture. It'd be a little too small, but there's a picture that Marcia took. What is this picture of, Marcia?
That's a picture of up on the Dempster Highway, which is just a little bit west of town. I think it's west. It goes right up into the Ogilvy Mountains and up into the Northwest Territories.
Okay, so this is a picture that Marcia took, and there's a poem that she wrote about, is it about chopping wood? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's just about the experience of stepping outside of the cabin at 60 below.
You did more than step outside. I think you were chopping wood.
Yeah, I was chopping wood. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so the poster is included in the next 2 levels. There's a level called Yukon Memories, and this one will include 2 pieces of art by Yukon artists, Ted Harrison and Robbie Craig, and we'll talk about Ted shortly. And then the highest level, Fireside Chat, for $250 is a private Zoom chat with Marcia and up to 10 of your friends, and ebooks for everybody, and then 3 physical copies of the book, the poster, 2 pieces of Yukon art. So it's very special. And we'll talk about Ted shortly. In our first live together, we talked about how you came to own a Ted Harrison painting. So if you want to know that story, ask for the link and we'll give it to you. Okay, so are we ready for the draw?
I think so.
Okay, let me go find it. Here we go. Okay, so I've put everybody's names. Are we including the person who won last time, Marcia?
Maybe not. I guess because they've already won.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing for a second. How do I do this? I don't know how to stop. Oh, here we go. Stop sharing for a moment while I remove that name. Okay, so if you don't win this time, you can enter if you've already sponsored a level of this project, then you'll still be entered for the next one, unless you win one of the felts. And then next level is a Ted Harrison book plate or book print. Book plate. We'll talk about that in a minute. And let's talk just for a second before we draw about why we've set the goal at $4,000. The biggest reason is because of editing. How many words do you think the book is going to be, Marcia? Do you have a guess, a range?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Put you on the spot. Sorry, I meant to text you that and ask you how many words do you think. And it's hard to know because we haven't quite finished finalizing the content. So, but it'll be long enough. So editing takes a lot of time, energy, and attention, and we want to make sure that Sheila, our managing editor, and developmental editor, is compensated fairly. We want to pay at least 2 other people, one for copy editing so that you get nice clean grammar and spelling and punctuation and all of that makes reading a good experience. And then we want to pay someone to proofread it because we believe that a well-edited book has better staying power. And so that's the biggest cost. And then there are a couple of other costs like putting it up for distribution around the world. This book will be available around the world through a couple of different channels. And so we just want to make sure everybody who's helping bring this to life is fairly compensated. I know someone had a question about that for Marcia, but publishing isn't just printing and it's not just distribution, like putting it on Amazon. From our perspective, publishing is good publishing has a lot more involved. And so we want to make sure we account for everything. Now, if we don't achieve the $4,000, we are still putting this book out. So we are grateful to everyone who has contributed so far, but if you want to contribute more, get some books in advance, and then and contribute to everybody who's helping put the book together, that would be great. Okay. Anything you want to add, Marcia? You've had so much experience with publishing. Is there a thought you have about just the dollar or the process?
Yeah, it's I've published some books on my own through Amazon, which is very cost effective, but you're really totally on your own. And I've found working with you, Colleen, working with Serotonin is just so helpful to have people who have done this many times, who know the things to do and not to do, and and they're just so encouraging and helping with the promo. And Colleen designs Canva things for me that we use for promotion, and memes to put on the internet, and all kinds of things that go into this whole process of getting a book out there. And it is quite an involved process and can be exhausting. And to do it on your own, I think makes it doubly exhausting because you really do feel like you're working all alone and you're not sure what you're doing is right and all of those things. So I really, really appreciate working with you, Colleen, with Serotonin.
And we love working with you, Marcia. One of the reasons why we wanted to come alongside and do the crowdfunding, but just come alongside, is because we want to free you to write and speak. Writing and speaking are two of your best gifts. And if you have to be bogged down with administration and editing and all of that, then you're not free to just run with the writing. And so I really wanted to build a team around you and support you, because you have more writing you want to do.
Yes, I do.
What did we call it? Did we call it your legacy lab or something like that?
Yes, yeah. In fact, just yesterday, I was putting these talks together for Blue Brana, and some of the stories are about living in Papua New Guinea. And I realized I could write an entire book about living in Papua New Guinea.
Oh, another memoir. Let's go.
Another memoir. It's never ending, Colleen.
I know. See, that's the thing. Like, we want to free you to write. You can do all of the publishing stuff. You can put it up yourself on Amazon, but I think you should just write. And so we'll see what happens. But there's so many stories that are true. Well, all stories are true. That's a conversation for another call. All stories are true on some level, but there are factual stories, your memoir stories. There are fictional stories, and some of them are quite fantastical. And so, yeah, we want the world to hear your stories. Okay, let's do the draw. Okay, so here are all the people who have contributed so far, first names and last names as we have them. And I have to make the draw. Oh, click to spin. So here's for the first felt. Which one is this?
This one will be this one. I think the one of the Yukon River from Standing on the Shore.
Standing on the Shore. Okay. So there's Catherine C. She won that one, and one more spin. So this is the Yukon River from Susan. Oh, Donna. Okay. Donna C. Two people whose last names start with C. Congratulations, Catherine and Donna, and Marcia will get those. Stop sharing. Okay. Marcia will get those in the mail. I think we have your addresses. If we don't, we will let you know. Okay. Anything else, Marcia, before we go?
Just to encourage everyone to share the link for the crowdfunder. It is going to run until June 4th. So I think that's 10 days or so that we have left to continue to support the project. And again, thank you so much to everyone who has. I truly appreciate the support and the encouragement.
Thank you so much. Okay, Marcia, we will see you. I'll see you sooner than this, but we'll see everybody else at the next $1,000 milestone. Wait, we didn't talk about Ted Harrison.
Oh,
The book plate. This is what you can win if you help us get to $3,000.
Okay, this is the book plate.
Mm-hmm.
It is a page that has been taken out of Ted's book called "Oh Canada," and it's paintings that he did of all the different provinces across the country. And this, as you can see, is an RCMP constable on his horse, and I love the little
gopher
groundhog there, and the elevator in the background, and
that picture is from S for Saskatchewan.
Sorry?
That page is from S for Saskatchewan.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. So maybe a Saskatchewan person will win, which would be really nice.
We have
or someone with a connection to the RCMP. That would be wonderful too.
Yes, we definitely have some Saskatchewan people. So if you know any Saskatchewan people who might want a book plate, let them know about the crowdfunder. And again, we'll put that in the comments as well. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.